Welcome, IT changemakers, to the DEX show with Tim Flower and Tom McGraw. Let's get into it.
Hello, changemakers. Welcome to the DEX show within a show, which is, of course, those special monthly episodes of Reality Bytes where the Reality Bytes team and myself get to talk to fascinating colleagues, fascinating Nexthinkers, find out a bit about what they do and a bit about the wider industry that their work touches upon. We always enjoy it, and we've got a great guest for everyone today. But I have to, first of all, make clear, as I failed to on the last show, that it is not just me, of course, interviewing our guest today. I'm also joined by Dina and Tim today. Hey guys, how we doing? Tim, you good?
Yeah, all good, Tom. Better than you. At least I got a roof over my head.
He's making a joke, listeners, because I'm in the midst of, I'm surrounded by renovations at the moment, and I'm currently missing a large part of my roof, which would turn out has some impact on the temperature of your home.
A little bit.
I haven't thought it through very thoroughly, but that is apparently a knock-on effect of having no roof. And I'm joined as well by Dina. How you doing, Dina?
All good. Glad to be here.
Excellent. It means when your questions are ready, you don't surprise the guest half to death. So now I've introduced the guest
Yes.
today. Yes, we don't want to lose any more guests to death by fright. But it is Tracy Downer, customer success director here at Nexthink, another UK based Nexthinker like myself. We won't go into the background here, Tracy, of all the times we've tried to record together, of the times we've recorded together and have been unable to release it. But there is some backstory. Delighted to finally, officially, properly have you on the show. Welcome. Great to see you.
Thank you very much. I'm very honored to be here.
Splendid. And I mean, best place to begin, I think, is to just hear a little something about you and your role here at Nexthink, please, Tracy.
Sure. So I am based out of London. As you said, the American accent throws folks. I've lived in England for quite some time now, and my career background is quite diverse. I left uni to go into the finance sector and then worked away from that into software and startups. And about 2 years ago, my path led me to Nexthink, and it's been a great ride over the last 2 years. And my responsibility has increased as of the end of last year to now be responsible for the customer success organization across the international market, which is 17 folks.
Brilliant. And so it's a couple of years since you've been working in experience then, specifically.
Yes.
What about your broader relationship with technology, Tracy? Has it been a lifelong passion or enthusiasm, or have you been dragged kicking and screaming into this sector?
Definitely not kicking and screaming.
Yes.
You'll be pleased to know. So technology found me, actually. As I mentioned, I left uni to go into banking and make my millions in investment banking. And then I decided to leave finance because as I continued to be successful in the career path, I realized I needed to change because I was changing in ways that really didn't align with who I was. And through that soul searching, I ended up finding a job in a predictive modeling software company. And this is going to date myself, but I'm going to do it anyhow. It was about 25 years ago. And this software was leading in what they were doing. And they did fraud scoring as well as some marketing predictive modeling. But they were keen on hiring me because of my finance background. And, this was software using chain analysis, regression, neural networks. And it was super exciting. And from joining it, I was really hooked on technology because I love learning about the tech. It involved math, which I really like. And just being able to provide companies with the ability to achieve results faster and smarter really kind of lit a fire inside of me. And this was in a time where there wasn't this nice title, customer success, but that's exactly what I was doing. So I helped the company learn about fraud and banking lingo, and they taught me a lot about SaaS. So ever since, I was hooked.
Hooked. Tracy, let's talk a little bit more about that. I think at some point in our careers, most of us in IT have been customers. And even if you're not a buyer of technology or software, you're interacting with a vendor, and they're kind of there's a customer relationship there. Having evaluated and purchased a ton of software myself over the years, I've seen vendors who really get it and really know the value of their customers, and I've seen others that haven't done so well in that. What's your philosophy to working successfully with customers?
So there's some key principles, right? And they're mainly being able to ask questions, right? I do find people sometimes hesitant because by asking a question, it shows maybe that you're concerned and perceive that you don't understand what you're
Mm,
talking about. But to really understand how to best support customers is being able to ask those questions, and a lot of them starting with why. And it's positioning them in a very curious nature, not in a confrontational way or a challenging way, but more a collaborative way. And then actually listening, because I had one opportunity. Most of my career in software and tech has been on the vendor side. I did do one stint client side when I was in the US and worked for DEX Sporting Goods. And on both sides, you do get a different perspective, right? And I was on a panel for vendor selection, and the amount of times people don't listen
mm.
and pick up cues and actually answer the question. It's almost like they hear the beginning part of the question and then answer and aren't listening. So asking questions, listening, leading, because as a vendor, we're the expert, right? And all too often, we rely on the customers leading us. It's a joint partnership, right? And they're looking for us for guidance on that. And then last, but most important, is don't avoid hard conversations because they're hard, but they'll always end up needing to be addressed. And the longer you leave it, the worse it gets. So that's my 4 key things.
I think that's good life advice too. Never mind just the customer relationship, right? Don't avoid the hard stuff. And I'll make you feel a little bit better. And I do this pretty regularly and date myself as well. My career is more than 35 years. I started in 1988, and before Windows 95, kind of back to the Stone Ages. So I think folks are fairly well aware of that origin story that I have. What's your experience as an IT discipline? I'm curious how you found it, how you decided it was interesting enough to work in the field. Did you have that background before joining Nextthink?
I did not have the background, and they still hired me. So, um, the bulk of my experience, kind of after getting into tech, has been very customer focused. Right, I did web analytics. I've done surveys. I've done live chatbots, and all of that. Very much from a digital transformation perspective for the end customer. What attracted me to Nexthink was in consulting with customers on how to create that digital transformation. It was very clear that the key focus and what was broken and a lot of customers not succeeding was that infrastructure piece.
Mm,
So now by working at Nexthink, you're affecting that from the inside out. And that is incredibly powerful. Now, did I underestimate the complexity of the sector that I was coming into? Absolutely. But with that underestimation has formed a great challenge for me personally to learn and understand it in a much deeper level of knowledge. And I've really enjoyed the whole experience and
mm,
I think one of the most fascinating things is watching IT as an organization have such an impact culturally. And I saw this happen in marketing, doing web analytics and all of that change and what was expected of marketeers and with technology and that impact. And now I'm seeing it. There's so many parallels to when I was in that world to now what IT is going through, and I just find it fascinating. And to be able to be a part of helping IT with that journey, I think is very lucky for me.
And it's cool because it's not a desk job, right? You're out, you're talking with people, you're experiencing what they're going through, you're helping them on their journey. I love that. Love that part of the job as well in my role. Um, and kind of looking at the career in the rearview mirror, I've been doing a little bit of kind of retrospective work, both writing and some video stuff up on YouTube. I look at the career in a 20-year block. I had 20 years at Hartford. Nexthink is now coming up on a 20-year milestone this spring as a company age. And when I look at those kind of rear view mirror blocks of time, the recurring question comes up is, what was the holy cow kind of a moment? What was the significant technology evolution that really changed the game? When you look back on your career and what you've been involved in, what was that significant evolution that you said this is a game changer?
I think it's still to come, because a lot of the challenges that I've seen throughout my career, they keep repeating themselves, right? When I first started in web analytics, we were analyzing server logs. The data analysis was so simplistic, but incredibly powerful. We've moved on to having more data than anyone knows what to do with. But the problems that data solves and the technology and the processing power that we have still isn't solving those problems, right? So why I say it's still yet to come is because we still haven't found a way to operationalize the power of technology. And, I mentioned neural networks 25 years ago. I was kind of dabbling in AI at the time with some, thought leaders. And this is the key piece that's really hard. And with great advancements in technology, there's also risks, right? And there's corporate responsibility, and there's a lot of other components that need to be considered in order for it to be successful. So, digital transformation, I was dealing with since 2000, that conversation, and those conversations are still occurring. So I do feel like we're on a cusp of one of those really big catalyst moments. I'm just not sure when that moment is going to happen. I know in the market, everyone thinks it's going to happen tomorrow.
Right.
But this type of sustainable change takes a while. We overestimate what we can do in a short term, but underestimate what we can do longer term. So I'm very excited about the future.
So the holy cow is holy cow. Why are we still doing it that way? When are we going to learn?
Yes.
All right.
I mean, it was the same thing with like web analytics and cookies were evil, and then they were good, and then they made our lives better, and then it went quiet, and then 10 years later it comes back up again. So I'm not meaning to sound like a cynical older individual, but it's interesting. The older I get, some of the themes that you see are still ones that I saw through much younger eyes.
Agree, and it takes a bit until people start adopting new technologies and innovations, right? So I'm fascinated to hear more about how the customers in general have been reacting to, whether it's embracing or not really embracing, the AI and the automation capabilities in particular that have been booming, I think, more or less the last year, right?
Yes.
And still is, like every second week you'll get to see, oh, there's the new GPT in this, there is new AI, Gen AI in that. So how has this been your experience with our customers so far?
I think our customers are super excited, right? Because what this technology, the first wave, helps reduce friction, right? And it makes their jobs easier, and it takes away from some of the more cumbersome jobs. And that's an absolute delight. I think as far as customers go, as long as technology is serving them, there's very little resistance to change. But as human beings, we do find change hard. And I think when those sizable shifts happen, I think that's where we might see a slowdown of adoption to change because they're not exactly sure how it impacts them directly. But organizations have the responsibility to communicate that impact to the individuals. And if done properly, we'll get them excited about it because it should open new opportunities and not create fear that their job or their purpose is going to be made redundant.
Yeah, I think the more knowledge that is being spread and ambiguity behind the big fear of AI or automation, once this is cleared out, people start to adopt a little bit more. All right, we just had International Women's Day. How would you characterize the challenges faced by women in tech and throughout your career and up to the present time?
Yes, we did. And it's great to be interviewed by a woman as well. No offense, Tim and Tom.
Thank you.
The every time I think we're on the cusp of not having to battle for equality, an experience comes my way and reminds me that we do still have a long way to go. The challenges are so broad, from sexual harassment to pay gaps, opportunities, and simply being heard. And sadly, I've experienced every one of those. And simple things like being highly respected in an organization, and then I had my first child and came back to work, and men that I worked with who used to hold me in high regard all of a sudden treated me differently because they thought I should be at home with my child, and I was somehow irresponsible because I came back to work. So I think it's really challenging, and I'm optimistic because I feel now it's not only women fighting for their seat at the table. We have allies across gender, right? And to me, that's so critical right now. Is it's not just a woman's fight, and I don't even like using the term fight because that shows confrontation. And I tried to think of a better word, but I didn't come up with one. But we, even having a voice in a meeting, I've been in meetings where I will say something and literally 2 minutes later, a man in the room will say the exact same thing. And all of a sudden, like, everyone in the room heard the man, but not what I said. And we as women will often be like, whoa, did I position that wrong? Did I not say it with a strong enough voice? And somehow we focus on how maybe we could have done better. And what I would like to see is us not looking on how we need to adapt to the marketplace, but also the marketplace adapting to our ways. Because, not to be completely stereotypical, but we think different. And through that diversity, not only across gender, it brings such rich conversations and high impact. And, the research is out there. Like, I was reading on LinkedIn for like women involved in peace negotiations, 33% of the outcomes last more than 10 years. Or, there's just incredible statistics behind why this is so important if you even take the personal side out of it. So I'm hoping and always optimistic that we keep on pushing to make society a better place and a more tolerant place. And we all know right now, with everything going on in the world, it's not just women that need that. So yes.
Totally agree. It's people and human beings, and I'm not gonna go where human beings versus the AI, where Tom likes me to go. So I'm not gonna go there now. All right. Last question: how was or how has the culture and the values of the industry evolved? Do you see any relationship between technology and culture? Giving back to that question, and what one thing would most improve the industry we all work in from your perspective, if we keep it right?
So, two questions in one question. Let me see if I can answer them both succinctly. So, the industry and culture values has definitely evolved, and it's both positive and negative, right? So the positive thing is through Teams, Zooms, we can call anyone anywhere in the world. It's breaking down barriers and making everyone much more accessible across the globe, and cultures and hierarchy in organizations. It seems to be helping to break that down as well. But with that also comes, and we're still not out of the fully remote kind of mindset. We all know how in person means so much, and there's intangible benefits. And I think sometimes from a cultural perspective, have gotten a bit lazy on making the effort to be in person. I'm guilty. There's some times where I'm like, oh, taking the train into London, and I could just be at home and have that much time. I end up working anyhow. But the intangible piece is that personal interaction, and that we need to learn how to better balance from a cultural industry tech piece. Is keep it human and not just rely on technology, because the human component of culture is what makes culture, right? And that was always my biggest concern at COVID, when you had a lot of folks saying, fully remote, this is the new world. And I've got 4 kids, and I'm like, how are they going to learn how to act in an office environment? Or where are they going to learn these soft skills on seeing someone make a big mistake in front of someone senior? Or, where are companies going to have that culture that attracts the same like-minded folks? And if it's all fully remote, then we're disadvantaged. So, and I don't think I asked the second part of your question, because I forget it.
So the second part of the question was, what one thing would you think that most improve the industry we work in from your perspective?
Technology, knowledge sharing. I can easily leverage something that someone else has done without having to create it myself, and that knowledge share is so much easier, and there's a lot less barriers to share. I mean, that's not even specific to our industry. It's the medical field, it's science, it's so much that makes everything move at a faster pace.
Tracy, so many genuinely profound answers there today. Really, really enjoyed listening to those. Before you go, we have one last rather trite question for you, I'm afraid, following all that. But hopefully fun all the same, and I'm interested to know what you have to say on it. So what is your favorite thing about being a Nexthinker, Tracy?
So people. If you look at the tagline on my LinkedIn, it's people make the difference, right? And I've worked for a lot of companies now, and it is absolutely for Nexthink, the consistent depth of skill, as well as amazing personalities and diverse personalities across the organization. It just fosters an environment where I'm always learning, and also have the opportunity to always support growth in other people. And that's really special. And that is my favorite thing about being a Nexthinker.
Very, very good answer. And look, people won't even believe how ridiculously long it's taken us to get to this point to record this episode, have an episode that we can publish. But I'm so glad we did it. I'm so glad we went through those hoops, because that was a wonderful conversation. And thanks for coming on. And hopefully it will feel so painless and enjoyable this time around by the time it's published that you'll come and see us again sometimes. Thanks, Tracy.
Absolutely. Anytime I'm asked, I really enjoyed the conversation and the questions. And some of my favorite Nexthinkers. So thank you.
Thanks, Tracy.
Thanks, Tracy.
To make sure that you never miss an episode, subscribe to the show in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast player. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, make sure to leave a rating of the show. Just tap the number of stars you think the podcast deserves. If you'd like to learn more about how Nexthink can help you improve your digital employee experience, head over to nexthink.com. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.